All right, if you kindly take your seats. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to the 21st PICS meeting. Many of you have been here all these years, and we all appreciate your presence and your commitment to this excellent educational meeting. I am going to hand the microphone to my course director, Damian Kenny, who will do the formal welcome remarks as well as some announcements. But I wanted to let the moderators and the panelists know that we are on very, very strict time constraints today because we have so many live cases and presentations and breakout sessions. So please make sure that whoever come and present or talk to make the remarks short. Damian.
Thanks, Z. So just on behalf of Z and the other directors and co-directors of PICS, a very warm and hearty welcome to each and every one of you to the 21st meeting at the MGM Grand here in Las Vegas. I hope that most of you have already realized that we are in the MGM Grand, and I suspect if you haven't, then it must have been a pretty good night last night, so good for you. Again, I hope the more observant of you will notice that I'm not Z. This meeting was founded by Z and established, and the philosophy of the meeting really embodies his outstanding characteristics as a true leader in our field. Thank you, Z, both personally and on behalf of all the attendees, past and present, for not only what you've provided, but also the unique and generous way that you've shared your successes with it all. So thank you very much. Now, the theme of this year's meeting centers around how we can optimize decision-making in congenital and structural interventions. I suppose technical skills and knowledge can only excel really when it's rooted in good decision-making, and we hope to highlight this through the meeting today, for the next few days. The format of the meeting is pretty well established by now. Every day we will have live cases in the morning time transmitted from a number of centers around the world, and then we'll have tape cases during the lunchtime. The live cases really remain the centerpiece of the meeting and provide an opportunity to interact with really world-class operators and also with each other. We kindly ask that you respect the operators and also, more importantly, the patients, and maybe avoid unnecessary remarks. In the afternoons, we'll have multiple breakout sessions, which are outlined in the program, available on the meeting app. If you have any problems with the app, please see Mike, who's the app guy outside, at the front desk. A special mention this year for a new and fun session that'll happen this evening. It's a Shark's Tank-like session for those of you in Europe. It's called Dragon's Den. It's later on this evening. It's kindly sponsored by Pediavascular, where the contestants will pitch their novel product ideas to the sharks for a very, very generous prize of $25,000. So I think your input would be greatly appreciated through that. Now, I'm sure you can appreciate that running a meeting like PICS can't really happen without the help and input of many people. Firstly, we want to thank the course directors and co-directors for their hard work to bring the meeting together. Sometimes I get too much adulation for maybe putting this together, but it's really a team effort. Each has designed a session to ensure diversity and a broader viewpoint on what will hopefully appeal to our attendees. A special mention to Amy and Gregor for yesterday's 3DI3 session, which I thought was fantastic, showcasing some of the really exciting imaging technology that's evolving. Thank you also to the faculty who've traveled from all over the world to share their knowledge and experience with us all so that we can bring back the best of everyone to each of our patients. I want to thank the physicians behind the screen who take care of all the factoids, which will be displayed up here during the meeting. Having prepared these in the past, I can empathize with how time-consuming that can be, so we're grateful for their efforts. We also want to thank Dr. Sharon Cheetham for her hard work in putting together the nursing and technologist session, particularly considering she's had some issues with her back of late, so we understand the huge effort that she's put in. We also want to thank our sponsors who are listed inside the app. As you're aware, the meeting really can't evolve and survive without the input of our sponsors, and we're very grateful for their continued support. Their booths are inside in the exhibit center, and please go and visit them and support them because they're an important part of what we're all about. Remember to stamp your passport because there will be a raffle at the end of the meeting for an iPad. We want to thank Rush University as well, Postgraduate Department, for providing the CME, and indeed all the staff at the Rush Centre for Congenital Structural Heart Disease for the hard work throughout the meeting. I suppose some individuals really deserve a special mention. Firstly, Colleen Didati and Sally Cook from Corporate Solutions, who've been here really since the start of the meeting 21 years ago, and who I hope you'll agree always go above and beyond to make sure that everyone and everything and everyone is taken care of. So thank you to Colleen and Sally. Mike Fitzgerald and his entire staff from the audiovisual system and support for the audiovisual organisation and live case transmissions. They do a fantastic job. I've worked with Mike when he's come to the lab, and again they go above and beyond, and they're really part of the PICS family, and we're so grateful to him. Thanks to Ray Romero and Russell DeSav for being the anchorman as well. We want to acknowledge Tony Carlson and Ritu Kublanis from Congenital Cardiology Today, and of course Dr. Kareem Diab, who does the editor of the newsletter, and of course Dr. Chow for his photographic skills. He's always behind the camera, never really so much in front of it, so we're trying to get more pictures with Dr. Chow this year. Now, there's probably one person who we know is the dynamo behind the meeting and always pulls this all together at the last minute. I've worked with Kim Ray for the last 7 years, and she lives and breathes PICS. It means the world to her, and you can see it in the way she approaches her work. So thank you, Kim, for your tireless work with the faculty and sponsors and everyone else. So just a few more things. A gentle reminder that the PICS Award will be given later this evening. This is a very special award to a colleague who's contributed so much to our field, and I think it's really important that we're all there to celebrate that person's successes. So that'll happen later on this evening after the programme finishes around about 5:30. In addition, we have the Scientific Scholarship Award and the Best Abstract Award to recognise the efforts of the best and brightest amongst us. And we want to congratulate Dr. Suleiman from Kampala in Uganda, the winner of this year's Terry King Travelship Award, and Dr. Pamachu, the winner of this year's Young Leadership Award. We're also pretty pleased that so many of our previous Young Leadership Awards are so actively involved in the programme, providing input on faculty and also through the taped and live cases. Finally, we want to thank our patients who continue to drive us and inspire us to be better physicians. The world is becoming a little bit more of a complex place with tribalism replacing common sense. However, we have the opportunity through the common goal we share to promote knowledge and tolerance both within and beyond the workplace. We're a small community, but we cast a wide net that is collaborative and inclusive. Don't forget the social aspects of the meeting also, particularly the gala dinner on Friday night, which promises to be spectacular, thanks to Colleen and Sally again. We've managed to keep the dancing police away again this year by hook or by crook, so some of you are safe again for another year. Just some housekeeping issues. We ask all of our speakers to stick to the time allotted for their lectures. No one appreciates late finishes, so our moderators will be strict on time. The 5K run will take place on Friday morning starting at 6 a.m. and continues to support the distribution of catheter equipment to developing countries. Finally, just a reminder that next year's meeting will be held in September 4th to 7th in San Diego at the Marriott Marquis Hotel, and we look forward to inviting all of you there. So just to conclude, have a great meeting, learn, interact, have fun, and thank you for your continued support of the meeting, and let us know if we can help with anything else. Thank you.
Thanks, Damien. So just one more remark about the 5K run. Friday morning at 6 a.m. We still can take more registrations. So the guy who is in charge of registration will be available today outside from 12 to 3. And I encourage all of you, especially those who get early, to join us. It's a good cause and good exercise in this nice weather. So please go and register between 12 to 3 p.m. And I'm going to call to the podium our panelists. I have in my left here Dr. Francois Godard from Lille. Let me call Carlos from Mexico, Makram from Mississippi, Al Galindo from here from Las Vegas to the podium. These are our panelists. And let me give the microphone now to Damien so that we can go to the live cases.
Thanks, Z. Let me just check with the guys here and see. Hey guys, how are we doing? Are we ready to go?
We're ready when you are.
Okay, well, we're ready to go.
So our first case is going to be from DOHA, from Sidra Medicine. That's the institution I moved to approximately 5 years ago. our cath lab director there, Dr. Yunus. Most, if not all of you know him, Yunus Boujamil, and his cath lab co-director is Dr. Hisham Salous, and they are in Doha as we speak, ready to go live with their cases. And then we have Brazil doing cases as well today, and London, Dr. Ikram Malik from Hammersmith Hospital.
Eunice, can you hear us?
Can we have the video? Guys, can they put the video from Doha? Yeah.
Eunice, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
So we have...
Yes.
We have picture, we're just waiting for sound.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, let's play the video from Doha.
Needs to be here for the presentation. We are live. Okay, no problem. Just mention it. Yes. Yes, that's okay. Go this way, please. Not now. You see? Yes. Hisham?
Can I have the device?
Mike, can we shut off the sound from the lab and turn up the sound on the video? Okay.
So the device can go through it?
Eunice,
Hello.
hi.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Doha.
Thank you. Let me just introduce before you start the moderators and the rest of the panelists here. We have myself, Damien Kenny, and Z is beside me, Eunice, and we have Carlos Abal from Mexico, Juku Wang from Taipei, Makram Abid from Mississippi, Al Galino from here in Las Vegas, and Francois Godard from France. So, yeah,
Okay.
maybe you can tell us about
So
your
we have-
case.
Yeah. So we have two cases to show you today. We'll start with an ASD patient. Can we show the slide and can you...
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. It's our pleasure to participate in the PEX conference today. And me and my team here are ready to transfer two cases today. The first case is an ASD case. And this is my colleagues, Dr. Hisham and the others.
Eunice, we can't hear your colleague presenting the case very well. Maybe we could turn up the sound on his microphone.
The voice is not clear.
Yeah. Can you...
The voice is not clear, guys.
Nizar,
Okay.
we can hear
Can
you
you
now.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Nizar, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is our pleasure to participate in the PEX conference today. So me and my colleague, we are ready for two cases today. I'm going to start the next slide. Please can you show the slides? So our colleague here, Dr. Yunus, Dr. Hisham, and Dr. Haytham will be doing the echo, myself, and my colleague Muhannad, and then we have our anesthesia guys, Dr. Francisco and Islam. Also, the next slide, showing our technician and our nurses here, and the echo sonographer with us also in the room, and the staff transmitting the case. Actually, this case transmission is being sponsored by Oculotech company. So next slide, please. So we are presenting a 26-year-old gentleman who has been found on ordinary routine examination to have a murmur with a suspicion of an ASD. The guy, he is fully active. He is working in a building house, and he is doing his daily work without limitation. He has no cardiovascular symptoms to complain from. The physical exam showed a well-built gentleman with pink color, and he has a normal heart sounds, and he has the first heart sound is normal, the second heart sound is wide split. His peripheral pulses were okay, and they were a murmur in the left sternal border, a soft murmur, ejection systolic murmur. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? So this is the X-ray, showed a normal cardiothoracic ratio, but there is prominent pulmonary artery there and pulmonary vasculature. Next slide, showing an ECG which shows a sinus rhythm, normal PR interval. There is no axis deviation, but there is incomplete right bundle branch block. Next. So this is a 4-chamber view showing a moderate side ASD secundum with left-right shunt, and that's the color compare view. Next. So this is a still image just to measure the size of the ASD, which is around 20 millimeter. Next. This is just a subcostal view to show how the ASD looks like, and again we get like a 19 millimeter diameter. Next. So this is a slide showing the superior vena cava rim and the inferior vena cava rim, which are actually sufficient rims there. Next. The next slide is the color compare, also showing the ASD, but there is a deficient aortic rim. We were not able to look for the posterior rim. That's the reason why we're going to have a TE now. My colleague, Dr. Haitham, is going to explain the pictures more. Next. So, in addition to what we have, the ASD secundum, the patient, he has a malcoaptation of the mitral leaflets, which is causing mild mitral regurg. Next. So this is the 4-chamber just concentrating on the mitral regurg. It is mild with mild malcoaptation of the leaflets. Next view. So this is just a continuous Doppler across the mitral valve, showing there is no significant pulmonary hypertension. There is no pulmonary hypertension by echo. Next. So our intervention, next slide. So our intervention, just we are going to go ahead to close the ASD device with an Occlutech device. So my colleague Dr. Yunus and Dr. Hisham and Dr. Muhannad will be doing the procedure now.
So what we have in place now, the patient is under GA. We have one chip in the femoral vein, right femoral vein, 7 French. We have the TE probe. We will show you a few pictures of the TE. Dr. Haitham, can you show us the TE?
Hello everyone. I'm going to present the TE assessment of the ASD defect. So starting first with mid-esophageal 4-chamber view. You can see dilated right atrium and right ventricle with good function. Here you can see the mild mitral regurg from the mitral valve side. Again here you can see dilated right atrium, right ventricle, moderately dilated. Tricuspid regurg looks mild from this side. And we got the estimated RVSD 25, so normal RSV. Then we start to go to assess the ASD side, ASD size. Next. Sorry, can you go back? Yes. So you can see from mid-esophageal 4-chamber view that it had adequate superior rim and AV valve rims, and we measured the defect from this 4-chamber mid-esophageal view, and it came to be the largest size, and the size is 21 millimeter, and direction of the shunt is left to right. Then we move to the mid-esophageal short axis view, which showed that anterior rim is completely deficient or very deficient, and posterior rim looks adequate, but it's floppy. You can see the thin rim of the posterior leaflet. Here by color, over the middle, so short axis view is left to right, and again you can see here the size of the rim is deficient aortic rim, good posterior rim, but tip is floppy. Sorry, can you go to just before that we need uterus to chamber. Yes. Then we have bicaval view. You can see the defect is smaller from this side. We got maximum of 12 millimeter size from this view with adequate superior vena cava and posterior inferior. Then, yes. Then from this slide you can see that the defect is circular in shape, located in the region of fossa ovalis. And you can see that the aortic rim is deficient from this view as well. Then, Dr. Yunus, you may start, BC.
Okay.
Any further question
so
for the
what's the maximum diameter you got on
We got
on
21 from mid-esophageal 4-chamber view.
Any question from the panel?
Eunice, could you take us through the hemodynamics as well?
We are usually for ASD closure, I do not take hemodynamics if the echo is showing everything. So in this case, we have by echo we can assess the by tricuspid regurgitation we assess the PA pressure, systolic PA pressure to be 25 millimeter of mercury. We also have a PR that shows that the mean PA pressure and diastolic pressure are low, so I'm not going to go for hemodynamics. QPQS was also estimated by echo, and we have QPQS estimated to be 2.2 over 1.
Yes.
And could we ask about the mitral valve before we proceed to the ASD? What do you think the mechanism of the mitral regurgitation may be?
This is a question for you. Mechanism of mitral regurg, MR.
Okay. Mechanism of mitral regurg, yes. Mechanism of the mitral regurg looks that the posterior leaflet looks restricted at the region of A3, B3, mild restriction creating a gap through which the mild MR is coming.
It's always one of the challenges.
Posterior directed jet.
It's always one of the challenges with closing a hole in the atrial septum with a large device with metal, is that if you want to get back into this mitral valve, is it a concern for you for the future? I know the mitral regurgitation is mild now.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, as you know, I mean, we will be able, if we want, to cross the device in a few months. So, I mean, right now the MR is only mild, so there's no indication on the mitral.
Okay, do you guys plan to balloon size, or what's your strategy?
So usually I do not balloon size. So I decide on the size of the device based on the anatomy and based on the diameter on echo.
Are you a bit concerned just about the?
I would be happy to hear from you guys.
Just the posterior rim here looks a little bit flimsy. So will you choose your device size based on the measurements you have so far, or will you count that posterior rim in your evaluation?
Yes, I'm taking everything into consideration. So usually what I do, we measure the larger diameter by echo, and then I had 3 to 5 millimeter more, depending on the size and the aspect of the rim.
So maybe we'll get some comments from the audience and see. I see Zahid there. Zahid, would you maybe come up and give us a thoughts, and then we'll get some thoughts from our panelists as well. What size device would you put in here, Zahid? And would you balloon size or not?
I'm Joko Wang from Taiwan. I would like to suggest you make a freeze frame of the 3D images and measure the longest diameters on the freeze frame of 3D images.
Yeah, we did it. We are going to do it again. Can you freeze the 3D images and make the measurements of the ASD, please?
Yes.
So, Damien asked me to. I usually, probably Damien knows this, I don't like to balloon size. So the only reason I would balloon size is if there was a suspicion of a second defect and you need to rule this out, which doesn't appear to be. And the second reason would be if it was a significantly old defect, and this doesn't appear to be. So this case you can do without balloon sizing.
Can I make a comment here about the balloon sizing, Damien? I prefer to balloon size. I never disagree with Zahid. But if you add 4 millimeters, you may be oversizing because you may balloon size and you find that it's exactly the same size, whereas it could be much more floppier septum than you think, then you may want the 4 millimeter extra. But you really don't know what the true size of the device you need to use until you balloon size. It may be exactly the same size that you don't need to add the 4 millimeter. And I don't think it adds a whole lot to just balloon size.
So by 3D units, I see you're measuring almost 27 by 24 millimeter. Do you think that's an accurate assessment of the size?
No, I think this is overestimating the size of the device of the ASD. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's overestimated. Actually, borders where we are measuring is very clean and not very clean. Yeah. And I think it's going to be between 25 to 24.
Yeah.
This is the maximum diameter. Yeah. I think it should be like that.
Jesus, question from the...
Question is, when you have a deficient aortic rim and posterior inferior rim that is soft, I think it's better to do balloon sizing because I have concern about the transverse sinus of the aorta. And oversize the device, I think, is a bad thing to that patient. What do you think about that?
Eunice, did you hear the question?
I've been doing, yes, I heard the question. I've been closing ASD for the last 10 years without balloon sizing in most cases. The indication for balloon sizing is as, I think it was Ziad Amin who said that when you have multiple holes, when you have a very floppy rim, then yes, I go for balloon sizing. But in most cases, I don't think that's necessary. I can predict in advance. I've done that for 2 years. I've been doing balloon sizing and selected the device before balloon sizing, and all the time I was using a device that was the size or 2 millimeters smaller than the device I would have chosen with balloon sizing.
Okay, Eunice, why don't you proceed because we want to run behind time. So why don't you proceed and tell us what you want to do?
So what size would you choose?
Well, because we're confused with the size here. What to believe, the 2D or the 3D? If you believe the 3D, I personally would go for a 27 millimeter device. If you believe the 2D, I would go with a 24 millimeter device. So that's where we are confused here about the measurements.
Ralph? If you look at the device that we already selected, we have a 27 millimeter device and a 24 on the table. So
yeah,
I would go for the 27.
Hi, Jonas, it's Ralph here. I have one quick question. There was quite a bit of a discrepancy on the 2D dimensions. You got on the bicable view about 12 millimeter and another measurement of 21 millimeter. If you have that type of discrepancy, is there a point in those situations to maybe do balloon size? I don't balloon size very often, but here you have quite a bit of discrepancy on the 2D dimensions.
I agree, Ralph. I think...
yes, I agree. When you have...
Sorry, go ahead, Eunice.
Yeah, sorry. You can continue. Go ahead.
No, I think one of the things that, particularly with this Occlutech device, it's a great device, but it is quite soft, and I think if there is a discrepancy, it's less forgiving if you undersize it. And certainly I've been caught by that once where we had a similar defect with a floppy posterior rim, and we put in a 24 device in a 5-year-old kid that had embolized a few weeks later actually. So I'm always a little bit more concerned about these types of defects, deficient anterior rim, a floppy posterior rim, and a little bit of ambiguity regarding the absolute size of the defect. I think in that circumstance, again, not balloon sizing very often, I do feel it probably adds something, but...
So Yunus, why don't you put the sheath while you are preparing for this so that you can save time, because I don't see the sheath is inside.
No, the sheath is not inside. I never put the sheath before preparing the device, so we will show you the device, and at the same time I will place the catheter in the pulmonary vein and place the wire. Okay?
Okay.
So Hisham is going to show you the device and prepare the device.
Go ahead.
So we have here the 27 millimeter occlusive device.
So you can probably show picture-in-picture, small, the fluoro, please.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
So Hisham, you have the 27 millimeter device.
Yeah. So you wire across the ASD.
Yes,
Hisham,
Hisham?
does Hisham have a microphone or not?
No, I'm not hearing very well actually. What was the question?
What device size do you have?
Yes.
They don't
I'm
need to
taking a
show me
27
now, they
device.
need to see the table, please.
This is the device here.
What
If you can
size?
show.
You wire across the ASD.
27.
And this is the delivery kit. Yes. This is the device here.
I need...
Okay. And this is the delivery cable.
So we go to...
Can I have 12 French sheets?
No, it's okay.
It's not going.
So most of you who are familiar with the occlutic device, the major features, couple of things. The left atrial disc does not have a hub, so it's much softer than other devices where you have a hub through the RA disc and the LA disc. Then the other important feature, of course, is the delivery cable. You will see now when Hisham demonstrates that, the tilting mechanism, and it makes it really good, especially with defects with deficient anterior rim.
So I will show you here, this is the cable. And you see, I want to see here how it works. So it looks like biptone, and this will hold in the device. So Amr will hold the delivery, and this is, you open it like this. And here we have the device.
Put your sheath first, Hisham. Put the sheath first. Put the sheath inside.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go for it now.
Okay. Now Amr will push. Okay. Now we can release. Yeah. No, again. Release.
Holding the wire, hold the wire. Hold it. Okay.
Do it again. Now release. Okay, now it's hold. Now you can see the device is connected to the cable.
Yep.
Can you see that?
And then with the hand-in-hand
Okay.
picture, you can see you're locking the
So I'll
device
get
at the
it
distal
yes.
end by turning the red
Okay,
knob.
and this is, Amr did look the device already. Okay. Then we'll have here flash.
Hisham, can you tell us you're using just a short sheath rather than the delivery system or loading system that comes with the Occlutech? Can you tell
Yes.
us about that?
Yes. Yes, we are using, we're not using the Occlutech sheet, so we have to use the short sheet to load the device in, then it will go through the, it's LifeTech sheet.
And is that because you're using a Hausdorff sheet to deliver the device because of the deficient rim, or?
Yeah, we talked about the Hausdorff sheet, and Yunus did not like to use that. He wanted to use the regular sheet.
Okay, go ahead, guys. Continue.
Let's see what's happened with the delivery with a conventional sheath.
Okay, so here we're, can you flash? Yeah, flash on. Flash, yeah. So now the device is loaded. So here it's locked and loaded to the short sheet.
Can I have some flush? Flush, 20cc. So now we need to see echo and fluoro, please.
Okay.
So Eunice, can you tell us, in relation to the Hausdorff sheath, why you do or don't like it or use it?
The right atrium.
Yeah, usually I use just the conventional sheath. I will go directly for a delivery from the pulmonary vein. So now what I have, I don't know if you see the fluoro. I have the sheath in the right superior pulmonary vein.
Eunice, do you think just with the wire across the defect now, whether you could measure the size again on the short axis view? Because I think that wire has pushed the floppy posterior rim back a little bit. Does it look a little bit more pronounced now? Just on that short axis view.
Etam, did you hear the question or not?
No, sorry, I can't. There's a problem with the.
We want to see the size of the defect now that we have the sheath inside the
Yes, sure.
ESE.
Yeah.
Yeah, just freeze that image there and measure that defect. Just freeze it right there. Yep. How much is this?
23.
23 millimeter.
23.
Okay.
So if you balloon size, you would have known this fact in advance, which adds 1 minute, really, instead of this going through all this, right?
So
Can we
the
see
device
fluoro now,
is in
please?
the pulmonary vein. I'm opening
Fluoro bigger.
opening the device. Fluoro, I'm not doing fluoro. I'm doing
So
most of
left
the,
desk open.
Okay.
Okay, and
Can
second.
you save that? Can you save?
Then the right desk open. Now the both desks deployed, successfully deployed. Okay, capturing the atrial defect from short axis. Can you put color? You can see here from mid-esophageal short axis, no residual shunt. Can you make the box larger, please?
Can you make the echo bigger, please?
So usually when I do when I deploy, yeah. So
Echo picture
when I deploy
bigger.
a device like this on the pulmonary vein, echo picture bigger, please.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Eunice.
So usually to deploy a device when there's no rim like this, I open the LA disc in the superior pulmonary vein, and then I go down with, I start deploying the right disc, and then I push on the cable.
So, Eunice, let me ask you a question. So, do you always start with the pulmonary vein deployment in such cases, or when do you go to the pulmonary vein deployment right from the beginning?
I went for the pulmonary vein to start with just because we had at least two rims, one deficient rim for the aortic, and the inferior rim was a bit floppy. So this is the reason why I decided to go using this technique to start with.
And Eunice, do you always use the right upper pulmonary vein? Or do you sometimes use the left? Is it?
I think for such defect, this is probably the best one. Sometimes I go on the left, but...
And that's a very important point as well, isn't it? When you deploy, rather than pulling, it's pushing actually that allows the disc to prolapse out of the right upper pulmonary vein.
This is very important to push on the cable or not to pull.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what do you think about the position of the device?
Eunice, it's François.
Move your hand.
Yeah, you have done a great job, but my feeling, do you think it would be possible to place this device in this special patient with the deficient aortic rim, quite deficient posterior, but in a regular fashion? I think probably it will be possible. It's probably not necessary to place the device within the right upper pulmonary vein. What do you think?
Yeah, you can, I mean, you have two options. We can try the conventional way with the normal sheath and see how it goes. If it works, then it's fine. If it doesn't work, then you can go to other technique to try to deploy.
Okay.
Eunice, do you think you could ask your echocardiographer to measure the size or the dimension of the waist now that the device is deployed? On echo?
How much you want? 24?
Yeah, that's a good frame there. Good image. Yep.
Okay, go for it, go for it.
The largest diameter, the largest. Yeah, there you go. Nope.
No, largest, yes, this one.
Yep. So smaller, so it's about 20. Even smaller.
Yeah, around 20 millimeter.
20. So there's no question, it's a little bit constricted.
20 millimeter, yes.
But
Yeah.
this is very important here. If he measures the diameter of the waist here, he has to measure also the left or the right disc, because it could be foreshortened. You may not be through the middle of the circle. You could be off center. So you cannot say this is a shortened device. You have to measure the left or the right disc. If the disc is equal to the device, then you know it's foreshortened or not. So otherwise, you are going to say, oh, this is a too big a device here.
Do you think there's the best view to do that in, Zahid? Is
any view where
any
you
view?
can see the largest diameter, but you have to measure the disc to compare the size of the waist.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just did it again, and this 21.
How much is this?
Yeah. 21.
Haytham, can you measure
21.
Haytham,
Yes.
can you measure the left atrial
Yes.
disc length in a good view, in a 4-chamber view where you will see the entire left atrial disc?
Sure. Can you increase again that? Yeah. Decrease the depth.
Yeah, that looks good there. If you can get a good measurement, yeah. Freeze it there and measure.
Yes. So you need the measurement of the left disc?
The left atrial disc.
Okay, sure.
Go back a little bit more. No, go back.
That's fine?
Yep. Add 14 millimeter.
So
This is 36.
36?
Yeah, so it's foreshortened because it should be 41 millimeter, right? Yeah, it should be 41.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually we cannot see the upper, the severe margin clearly here. One sec, I'll try one small. Yeah, that's much better, here.
But Eunice, you can do that on Cine.
Yeah.
Look at fluoroscopy.
Yeah.
How much
So
is
here
this?
is 40. I got 40 here.
Oh, 40, that's good.
40.
And now
40
measure
now.
the waist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look
Yes.
at the device by echo, it looks flat. I mean, you cannot say that it's oversized. I don't think you can say that on the echo. So can you look at the mitral valve now?
Yeah, sure. They need to measure the waist from here.
Mitral valve, yes.
Eunice, are you planning to release the device or not?
Yeah, can you
Yes,
see
yes,
the
I'm planning to release the device.
Today, right?
Yes.
Not tomorrow. I just want to look at the mitral valve to be sure that the MR has not increased. I think the LADs is far from the mitral, but still,
Yeah, it's pretty far.
Mitral valve regage is still the same.
look the same.
Yeah, and mitral valve regage didn't change from the previous one. From the B.
So I'm going to release the device.
Okay, can we see fluoro now? Picture in picture. Just 1 second, Eunice. Fluoro. Yep.
Yeah. I'll do that. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, released.
Good to use
Can you
it.
save that? Yeah, the reason why the quality of the imaging is not good is because I'm using very low frame rate. I usually use 4 images per second to close ASDs.
I think you can still see, though, Eunice, that the device doesn't really shift much when you release it because of the ball and socket mechanism. It
Yes,
really
exactly.
maintains its position, and as opposed to some other devices?
Yeah, we saw it also by echo. I mean, there was almost no shift of the device when releasing the device.
Eunice, can you didn't test device stability. Don't do that with any devices at any stage, or do you do it sometimes, or?
No, I don't do. I don't do that because I think if you pull or push too much, you will be always able to remove the device.
So you just rely 100% on echo that the device in good position, no need to do a gentle tug, gentle push.
I don't know if it's needed, but I don't do it, and because I don't think that's
Okay.
necessary.
Do we have any question from the
I know that
panel?
some people, they do the soft Minnesota wiggle, but I usually don't do.
So Eunice, just briefly tell us how much heparin did the patient receive, and do you check your ACT, and what antiplatelet therapy do you put this patient on?
Okay, so because of the life case, usually for adult patient I give 2,500 units because it's a short procedure, so I don't think we need to give more than that. Because of the life case and we started early, I gave 5,000 units of heparin to the patient.
And do you check an ACT or you don't?
If it's less than a procedure is less than 1 hour, which is the case in almost 100% of the ASD, then I don't check ACT.
Okay, and when you send the patient home tomorrow,
So
what? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Then the patient, I will start the patient on aspirin for 6 months, and usually in adult patient we had some Plavix for 1 month.
Okay, question.
Yeah, so a very nice result. A word of caution about this device. It's very comfortable to use it. It's getting into position very neutrally. When you load it because of this forceps mechanism, one of the problems that can happen is that the struts are getting caught by the teeth of the holder, and if that happens, the device will not move very nicely on the loader cable. And if that happens, it might cause a cobra when you try to open it up and deploy it. So you have to make sure when you're loading it that the struts of the device are not cut with the cable.
Just the ball.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Eunice, I see you're using a per-close device. Do you use that for all your venous access cases for over a certain size sheath, or when do you use the per-close?
I use the pair close when I'm using large sheath. In that case, this is a 12-French sheath. It's an adult patient. Usually we do the procedure as day surgery, so the patient will go home after a few hours. So in that case, I prefer to use pair close.
What's your follow-up protocol for imaging the device over the next 6 months?
So if you do day surgery, usually we see the patient 3 days after the procedure. We do an echo and we check that there's no hematoma. And then usually we do, this is what I do. My protocol is to do echo at 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, and then every 5 years.
Any question, guys, on this case?
I don't think so. And Mike, how are we doing in Brazil?
Any comments from the guys? Everybody's happy?
I think the nice thing about the device is the way it rotates before the release.
Yeah.
It absolutely could see exactly how it's going to look before it's released. This is a very nice feature.
I wonder whether Eunice could give his talk now.
Left disc. Left disc.
Left disc. Okay.
It's not the left disc.
Could be 10 minutes away. Should we ask Eunice to give his talk?
We have some 3D images of the device if you want to see.
I'll get Asim to answer.
Okay, so this is the size of the LA disc.
43.
By 3D.
43.
43 millimeters.
Yeah, by 3D.
Yes.
Can you show us a couple of more 3D images, Haytham, from the RA disc, from the right atrium, from the left atrium?
Yeah, sure. It's from right atrial side. This from right atrial side. Then this how it looks from one side, and this from left atrial side.
Can we look at the? Can we have a look to the fluoro time and?
Anything?
The one that can. That looks good. So Brazil is running a little bit late with a minor complication. So I'm going to ask Herman Hinestrosa if he's here to come to the podium to present his taped case. Herman. Yunus, that was good. So no questions from the audience. Any last minute?
Just.
Go ahead.
Just last comment. Just to give you the fluoroscopic time, it's less than 1 minute, 48 seconds, and radiation exposure is very low.
Great. That was very good case,
So
Yunus and Hisham.
I'm sure during the meeting you will have, yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm sure during the meeting you will have some talk about closing ASD without X-ray in the surgery room.
Yes.
I think with this amount of radiation exposure, we probably can, it's better. It's at least possible to do with less radiation.
That's great.
Okay, so we see. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, guys, and we'll see you for your second case later on. No more questions. Congratulations.
So, guys, we're